Imagine a world where more women had the time and resources to fully explore their genius. Welcome to She Rebel Radio, a community-driven podcast dedicated to supporting women to unlearn conventional rules and create businesses of significance. This is our International Women's Day series, bringing you insights and advice from noteworthy women entrepreneurs here in the UK who strive to create more meaning, impact and purpose. Our headline partner for this podcast series is NatWest. NatWest have been a pioneer in supporting women in business since the publication of the Rose Review in 2019, which identified the disparity between male and female entrepreneurs when starting a business. NatWest have been implementing key interventions and providing essential wraparound support to realise the unrealised potential of female founders. My name is Lulu Minns. I host retreats and create spaces for entrepreneurial women to explore their genius. And today I'm going to create that same space for you right here on this podcast episode. Welcome to episode 86 of She Rebel Radio, the lesser of whys. I'm so excited to be back with you on She Rebel Radio, and it's March, my favourite month for two reasons. The first is we finally get to welcome spring, and secondly, of course, it's International Women's Day and Women's History Month. Every year on She Rebel Radio, we celebrate International Women's Day. It's become a bit of a tradition, and this year is no different. In fact, we've got 10 brand new episodes for you, a brand new sponsor, so a big thank you to NatWest. And quietly, whilst I've been taking a break from recording, we are celebrating over 10,000 downloads of the podcast since we launched in 2019. So I wanted to say a massive thank you to our loyal listeners and to those of you that maybe found us over the last few months when I haven't been recording, or perhaps even this is your first episode today because you're joining us for the International Women's Day 10-part series. Either way, I'm super grateful that you are here, and She Rebel has had such organic growth and recommendation amongst women. And I know many of you that have listened from the beginning return to old shows. You grab your journal and your pen and you make notes. And this series, ladies, is going to be no different. In fact, I'm going to ask you to think of this 10-part series as a kind of mini retreat where you're going to need your journal. You're going to want to take notes with the fantastic guests that we've got coming up. And I've interweaved 3 solo shows throughout this series, and we have certain themes that we're going to be working on so you can take that time back to focus on you and your genius. So as always, March is a great time to really feel into the year, and we're going to feel into this series with the lesser of whys. But before we dive in, I wanted to share with you that we have 2 incredible guests coming up for you. Selma Studer sharing with us the wisdom of sound and a gong bath in the next episode. And then Dr. Sharon Blackie, the author of If Women Rose Rooted, one of my favourite ever books, where she's going to explore with us the wisdom of women and the wisdom of land and how these 2 things interconnect. So this is your kind of introduction episode where we're going to be looking at intellect and wisdom. So for the lesser of whys, we're going to be exploring the elements of wisdom, how we cultivate it, and why it's essential as women that we do. Now, in January, I hosted my breakout strategy workshop, both in person, which was amazing, and online. And what was shared with me, as is so often with the women that also attend our retreats, is that they were feeling pushed, pulled, and rushed. So pushed, pulled and rushed, that may well resonate with you. And that's really not a place to be in January because, you know, the wisdom of nature is that in January, it's hibernation. It's about clearing out, letting go and doing much less. But that's not what these ladies were reporting. And they were wanting to feel reconnected, refocused, restored, and to find that headspace. Now, that is familiar of so many external pressures that women face. And when we face all of those external pressures, then what happens is we can become disconnected from our inner wisdom and sucked into the patriarchal model of more, more, more. And that's not where we want to be, ladies. And that's not what the lesser of wise is. So let's start to explore the elements of wisdom. There are so many elements of wisdom. There's the spiritual and even the biblical element of wisdom. There's the psychological, cognitive aspect of wisdom, and then the social, because when we're really connected with our wisdom, we share that with other people. We share it within the collective. And at a very basic level, wisdom is about experience, knowledge, and good judgment. So we kind of discerning, we're able to read between the lines, use the knowledge and experience that we have. But at a more advanced level, it's that conscious awareness, that awareness of all that is. There's an integration of that experience and knowledge, and there's a real depth of understanding, maybe about a particular thing, or maybe just about life in general, or business, or whatever it might be. And when we say the word wisdom, it quite often conjures up an image of an older person, maybe an old man with a long wizened beard, or an older woman who, we're going to explore more in this series about how older women can be actually disregarded, and disregarded. The older wise woman, the crone, can be disregarded by society. And there's a Hopi principle. It's like a tribe principle that when the grandmother speaks, the world will heal. Now, that's some wisdom. So we really need to create spaces for the wise women who have so much to share. And that includes you ladies listening, because I believe you are all wise women listening, because we really do like to create depth and integration and awareness right here on She Rebel Radio. But I don't think wisdom always comes with being older, and we don't always attain wisdom because we become older, because it's not always possible. It doesn't feel like it might be for some people in terms of that integration and that depth, because when for wisdom, we have to experience a level of uncertainty. We have to have overcome problems. We have to become optimistic in solving problems, and not be fazed by a level of uncertainty, to understand that, I think in the words of the Buddha, the only truth is impermanence, that there is always change. And nothing stays the same, and we can't always predict the outcomes of things. Now, we've all had a level of that over the last couple of years. So I believe those of us that have really embraced that have become wiser as a result of that. But when we can experience negativity or pain or discomfort, what we can do is hold that. We can hold that pain physically within our bodies, or we can spotlight on the problem so it becomes bigger and bigger. We don't become wiser when we do that. So those people who become wiser move through. They move through the problems, they move through the uncertainty with that level of judgment, and use that experience and knowledge. But I feel like as well, when I was a trainee lawyer, I trained up in London, I was thanked for my wisdom by a client when I was only 23 or 24 years old. And that really surprised me. And I remember sharing it with the other trainees in the office and being surprised by that comment, because I didn't have much experience or knowledge. I like to say I've always had reasonably good judgment, but it wasn't based, what the advice I'd given to that client wasn't based on anything that I'd read in a book, or it wasn't based on anything that one of the partners had told me. I just used, and kind of infused and integrated a number of things to present that advice to that person. But what I really believe in terms of wisdom is that we all have an innate wisdom, kind of like a jewel inside of us that's passed down, that's inherited. We hear the term old souls a lot, and we have that jewel, and it's up to us, what we do with it, and how we can nurture that and fuse that, and, use it for a good purpose. It doesn't necessarily come with age. That really depends on how we respond to the more difficult things in life, because wisdom doesn't come from ease and comfort. But how do we cultivate our wisdom. So that's one aspect. We can't just be in ease and comfort. It's that discomfort, that uncertainty, those problems that arise and how and pain that we experience of how we can move through that. But the Taoist principles, philosophy in the Chinese philosophy talks about for wisdom we need less, but for knowledge we need more. So wisdom we need less, and for knowledge we need more. And we've discovered above, haven't we, that wisdom is about far more than intellect or knowledge or reading books or educating ourselves, because that doesn't count as wisdom if we don't integrate it. We haven't got experience of it or a depth of understanding. So we don't get more wisdom by doing more stuff, by reading more books, by going on more courses. We get wisdom by doing less. We need to slow down, we need to open up, and we need to invite wisdom in. And I'm constantly at retreats, at workshops with women, getting them to slow down, open up, and invite that wisdom in to answer the questions that they already know. Now, we have our body is full of wisdom. As I said there, if we experience pain or discomfort, what we can do, and trauma, we can hold on to that, our body, and that becomes disease and pain within our bodies. But if we reflect on our experiences, if we learn to move through and be in nature and observe the cycles and patterns that we see, we become wiser. There is so much wisdom in nature, in the cycles of life. Spring doesn't tell summer that it's coming next. It just knows. So there's a real depth of knowing. So when we really slow down and notice that, and we become more connected within our bodies and within nature, and open up that headspace, that restoration, that reconnection with all that is in the universe, which means one verse, which we're going to hear more about that in the next episode, we become wiser. And for us women, every time we have our menstrual cycle and we connect with our cycle, which runs along with nature, we become wiser. And that there's so many incredible women doing lots of work on menopause now, and that initiation for women of stepping into more and more that wiser woman. But that's only if we are integrating and having a level of depth of understanding and awareness of what's happening during our cycle, during life, during business, as we move through. So that is how we connect with it. That is the lesser of whys. It's about less. It's not about more. So why is it essential that we as women connect with the lesser of whys? And the Rose Review reported that we as women are less likely to believe that we have the skills and abilities to run a business. That's that knowledge aspect, right? The skills and abilities to run a business. So what happens? This is what happens. This is my experience of supporting women within their business over the last 6 to 7 years, is that they do more. We do more. We don't believe in our skills or abilities or have the confidence within them. So we do more. More courses, more pieces of paper, more books, more personal development, more studying, more education, more knowledge. But we've seen that knowledge is only a really, really small part of wisdom. What we actually need to be doing is less. Doing less, creating that space to bring in conscious awareness, to integrate what it is that you know, and create a depth of understanding and build on the skills and expertise that you already have. That is really the gift. And the gift I'm wanting to leave you with today of the lesser of whys. You don't need to do more, ladies. You need to do less. So I want to leave you today with these 3 journaling tools to consider how it is that you can actually do less, but at the same time really amplify the skills and abilities that you have. Now, the first one is, where are you saying more when you need less? Where are you saying more when you need less? And as we've talked about, this is a patriarchal model of more, more, more. It must be more, more, more. But I want you to flip that on its head today and think less, less, less. What do I need less of? Where can I create space for more wisdom? So that's the second question. How can I clear out space for more wisdom? Now, it might be that drawer in your house is full of junk, or the cupboard under the stairs has been on my list for quite some time. That's really clearing out space. It could be that you can commit to a more regular yoga practice or going for walks on the beach or within nature. It could be that you could come on one of my incredible retreats this year. We also actually on that point have a healing and empowerment circle that we're doing every solstice and equinox. So for a year online, I will put the link to that in the show notes, because that is another way that we're going to be really connecting you with the lesser of whys, where you will sit with us for 90 minutes, meditation, journaling tools, etc. And finally, I love this question. I love this question for you, and feel free to just write these questions down, or you might be driving or doing something else. Come back to this episode once you've listened to our two very wise and incredible guests that are coming up for you. As I said, Selma Studer with The Wisdom of Sound and Dr. Sharon Blackie with If Women Rose Rooted. And then ask yourself this question: what would my wisest self tell me about my skills and expertise? What would my wisest self tell me about my skills and expertise? Because we all have the lesser version of ourselves, the version of ourselves that doesn't believe in us. And we really need to connect with that wiser self, that wisest part of you, that wisest part of your soul that can really nourish and tell you more about the skills and expertise that you already have. Ladies, it's been an honour to be with you today. As always, I'm super excited to share the guests that we've got coming up in this International Women's Day series. Enjoy, and I look forward to returning with you very soon. You've been listening to She Rebel Radio. It's been an honour to support you taking the time to discover more of your genius. And we thank our partners NatWest for supporting this series. Since the publication of the Rose Review, NatWest have been working to deliver real support for women to create their business of significance. From launching the Investing in Women Code to backing $1 billion of female entrepreneurship funding, NatWest are also educating young women through Dream Bigger, inspiring the future generations of female entrepreneurs. From their Business Builder online course to their flagship Accelerator program, NatWest can support you to upskill at your own pace in a way that allows you to stay in control as you start, scale, and succeed. Visit www.natwestbusinesshub.com for more. If you'd like to attend a retreat with me, visit luluminns.com, and don't forget to join us in furthering the conversation on social media. Just search for NatWest Business or Lulu Minns in Google and on all social media platforms.